Hello, everyone. This is Armin Navabi from Atheist Republic, and just trying YouTube Live. I'm going to try doing this on a more regular basis, but I'm trying it right now and see if this will work out. I'm going to wait around a little bit for some people to join in. The topic for this Hangout Live is Christianity as bad as Islam? I want to read some of your comments as you come up, but while you do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about my thoughts on it, but I'm hoping to get some comments in the live chat here so that I could see what you guys think as well. You know, in Atheist Republic, we try to, as much as we can, talk about all religions: Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Judaism, but obviously we can't cover them all equally at all times, especially because Atheist Republic is a volunteer base, and it's meant to be a republic. It's meant to reflect the views of its members and its audience, and how much we cover a topic really depends on the volunteers that join and the things they're passionate about. But what I've noticed is that even though, because most of the volunteers came from the West, at the beginning the focus was mainly on Christianity, but as more and more volunteers joined and as more ex-Muslims joined, the focus on Islam grew bigger and bigger, and even Hinduism as well. But every time we post something about Islam, many people come in and say that, well, Christianity is just as bad. Why are you focusing on Islam? Even though most, more posts are about Christianity, that comment is the most common one every time we mention something about Islam. And it's interesting because we don't get the same comment when we post about Christianity. When you post about Christianity, nobody comes and says, well, why are you talking about Christianity? Islam is just as bad. Or why are you talking about Christianity? Hinduism is like another religion that you should be focusing on. They're just like, yeah, you're right, like Christianity is bullshit, this is funny, or like that's ridiculous, that's stupid. But every time you talk about Islam, there's that one person out there that says, well, all religions are bullshit. As if, so, which is really strange, because so that means you can never talk about Islam, because a lot of these people demand that only when you focus on Islam, that you need to cover all religions, not a specific religion. But no matter how much we claim that all religions are similar, there's differences between them, and you have to be able to talk about them separately, because the way you criticize them and the way you address them is different, because they make different claims. They might have the same roots and they might have similarities, but that doesn't mean they are exactly the same. And people that try to make it seem like they're exactly the same, they're oversimplifying things, right? Just because there are similarities between them, that doesn't mean they're exactly the same. So I get Christians all the time. So here's the first comment. I get Christians all the time complaining that all I do, I make fun of Christianity. They are so full of themselves because I don't. But here in the US, they are the biggest target. Well, they are the biggest target. That's true. Actually, that's another thing I hear. Like a lot of Christians, there's a lot of ex-Christians or people in the West, they say, well, the main cause of harm here in the West is Christianity. So that's why we focus on Christianity. But the thing is, I do think that as activists, we live in a more and more connected global village, and the problems in one corner of the world is everyone's problem. It's not just, I think, like, when it comes to activism and secular activism, we need to get together and we need to unite more, right? And I'm not saying we should focus on Islam. I do think, though, that we need to see, atheists' problem in Indonesia or in Bangladesh as our problem, right? The fact that they're on the other side of the planet doesn't mean that we can't talk about them. Because at the age of internet and social media, distance has become less of an issue. We're all connected more than ever, and ideas are traveling faster than ever. So you might not think Islam is not your problem now, but it will become your problem at some point, especially because people think that the borders and controlling immigrants is a way to stop Islam creeping into your backyard. But if you look at most of the extremism, they're getting most of them are born here in the West, and they're getting their ideas on the internet, on YouTube, on Facebook, and a lot of them are born from non-extremist parents, right? But so, and for more comments coming. Religion is all bad, right? People are. So again, when people talk about all religions are bad, nobody is denying, as atheists, that's such a cliche thing to say. Yeah, we know religion is all bad, but that doesn't mean that every time we talk about a religion, we have to talk about all of it at once, right? It is okay to be specific at times. It is okay for us to sometimes talk about Christianity specifically, to talk about Islam specifically, to talk about Hinduism or Judaism or Mormonism, or Scientology specifically. Just because we're talking about Islam specifically, it doesn't mean that we're denying the harmfulness of Christianity. So I'm trying to read the comments. Yeah, I was on your show. Thank you for inviting me. That was a really good one. But and another thing, a lot of people say, here's the problem. Here's one reason why I do think that Islam, in general, people get more defensive when you talk about it than other religions, and that's why I do think that Islam, more than any other religion, does demand specific attention, because the resistance towards this specific attention it gets. Because when I criticize Christianity, nobody, like, I hear other people saying, but very rarely somebody says, why are you focusing on Christianity? More often almost always I see somebody come when I talk about Islam, why are you focusing on Islam? That's the comment they get. Islam, if all religions are bad. And because of this resistance that Islam has compared to other religions, I think that we have to double down on Islam, because it seems like people find it icky for you to focus on Islam, because especially in the West, because a lot of people find a criticism of Islam something that the most of the secular community, not all of it, most of the secular community here in the West are the liberals, and the liberals associate anti-Islam messages with the right. So that's why I think there's this knee-jerk reaction for them to be like, no, don't talk about Islam, talk about all religions as soon as you talk about Islam, because they think that this message is getting too close to my enemies, and these are people on the right. And nothing could be farther from the truth. Like, a lot of these people that the liberals are trying to stay away from are not people that are focusing on Islam. Are people that are focusing on Muslims as individuals and are xenophobes, right? But they should welcome people that are focusing on Islam as an ideology and criticizing it, especially for the reason to steal the attention away from the xenophobes. You are basically the liberal left, when they're trying to shut down criticism of Islam, they're actually empowering the people that they don't want to empower, because when they shut down good criticism, legitimate criticism of Islam, then they're giving a larger platform to the xenophobes that are focused against Muslims, against as individuals. I'm going to try to see, read more comments here. Um, See, again, people are saying, "Oh, religion is a problem. Religion is a problem." Yeah, but we're talking to atheists, and we're talking to secularists, and we're talking to atheist activists, telling them, "Oh, religion is mental slavery." That's not. That's just, well, we're talking to atheists. Why are we saying this? They already know this. They already accept this. Now we need to get more specific, right? We need to go into Christianity and look, take it, piece by piece, and then we need to get into Islam, and we need to talk about Islam and its unique challenges. And people keep bringing up the similarities between Islam and Christianity, and use those similarities to make the point that they're exactly the same. Just because two things have similarities doesn't mean they are exactly the same. It's possible for two different things to have similarities and differences at the same time. Islam and Christianity are the unique monsters. They're not exactly the same. They behave differently. They have different rules. They have similar rules, but they also have different rules. They cause harm in a different way, and the way to challenge them is also a different way. If you understand Muslims and the way people feel about Islam, you know that the way to talk about Muslims and try to get them to be skeptical about their religion is going to be a little bit different, and it will be different from Muslim to Muslim as well. So if it's different from Muslim to Muslim, how could it not be different from Muslim to Christian, right? So people that talk to Muslims more often, they know as soon as they talk to Muslims, oh, this is the type of Muslim I'm talking to. These are the arguments that this person is going to bring up, and you recognize them, and you're talking with somebody with what kind of a background. So, and to recognize that and to recognize your audience is very important. And for people, so what I'm trying to say is that even among Muslims, there's so many different diversity of how you talk to them based on their background. And if you're not even going to recognize the difference between Christianity and Islam, how are you going to go even deeper and recognize the difference between different Islamic communities, the difference between the Sunni born in the West and the Shia born in Iran, and the Ismaili person that maybe doesn't even give a shit about any of this in Pakistan, and the Baha'i in Iran that has been discriminated. These are different groups of people, and they're very different. And we need to be able to talk about these things, but we are still at the very beginning point that we're not even willing to acknowledge the difference between Christianity and Islam. And if we can't get beyond that, how could we get into so much more detail about all these little nuances between different methods that you are going to be challenging? It's hard to read the comments at the same time as cannot do X because the crazy is racist. Yeah, actually, this is a good point. Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's a very common argument. So the argument is that we can't. So a lot of atheists come and say, you know what? I agree, Islam is bullshit. Islam needs to be challenged. But right now, Muslims are being targeted, and if you attack Islam, you're giving ammunition to people that are attacking against Muslims, right? You're basically helping them out. But actually, it's exactly the opposite. It's exactly the opposite, because we have gone here because we didn't talk about Islam. We shut down civil discussions, civil and friendly discussions with Muslims about their ideas, and not only brainwashed ourselves that this is xenophobic and racist, but even Muslims, we kind of convinced a lot of them that disagreements with them is anti-bigotry. And because we have silenced legitimate civil friendly disagreements with Muslims and have this knee-jerk reaction with them, the only people now that have the platform and the audience to be able to talk about these things are people that are racist. So people that are claiming that we shouldn't talk about these things, we shouldn't criticize Islam because we're helping the racists, they actually silencing us, silencing friendly discussion with Muslims, is actually has done the exact opposite. They have that mentality has caused xenophobes and racists to be able to grow and grow because they were the only game in town. Trying to read some comments here. They are both deplorable. Let's keep things in perspective. Yeah, they're both deplorable, but it's okay to talk about them separately. Yes, some is okay. This is a very good point. It assumes literally that all Muslims are children who can't take criticism. That's a very, very good point. And actually, when I talk to Muslims and I disagree with them, most of them don't see it as an attack. Most of them accept criticism. Most of them say, "Well, I disagree with you, but I see where you're coming from. You know, if you do it in a respectful way, if you do it, if even mockery is okay." Here's what I tell to Muslims: they mock atheism, and that's okay. They say like atheists, how could some like they laugh at atheism, they laugh at Christianity and Judaism, and that's okay. We can take it. Mockery is even okay, right? Comedy is a form of criticism. You know, a Muslim comes and says that, you know, you must be deluded. Look at the world; it's so organized. What kind of a crazy mind could think that this is all random? And they laugh at us, and that's okay. That's okay. That's a form of bringing your point, you know. So, and I make that point to, and like, you know, when I was a Muslim in Iran, they made fun of uh, Judaism. They said like it's in their text, God and man had, you know, had a fight with each other, and the prophet won over God, and we laughed at that. They make fun of Christians for thinking God can have a child. They make fun of the Old Testament for the fact that God was looking for Adam and he couldn't find it. He could say, how could a God that is so powerful not know where Adam is? They make fun of these things, and that's okay. So even if mockery is a form of criticism, and it's not, making mockery of ideas is not the same as attacking people, and if you present that to Muslims, I find a lot of times they see your point and say like, yeah, that's okay. I don't see that as I actually talked to a Muslim woman, full hijabi conservative Muslim, and she said like, yeah, I disagree with Christianity. This is what she told me. She said, I disagree with Christianity, and I don't consider that Christian phobic. So why should I see disagreement with Islam as Islamophobic? So if we could show that even Muslims are okay with criticism of their religion, then these Westerners that come and say like, oh no, don't talk about Islam, you're basically empowering xenophobes, is it's not true, because what they're doing, you're silencing discussion, you're silencing friendly, peaceful discussions between Muslims and atheists, and by silencing this discussion, you're separating us, and you're making us not recognize each other's arguments and ideas, and you're basically making Muslims think, more Muslims think that whoever attacks Islam is attacking Muslims, and you're making xenophobic voices more powerful, right? You're basically getting the people in the middle that are not the extremes on each side, that will be willing to come together and talk with each other. You're silencing them and taking them out of the equation, and by doing that, you're making the extremes on both sides that fight becomes highlighted. We need the people that are not extreme, the people that can disagree in a civil way. They need to come together and have discussions with each other, even if they can't convince each other of each other's idea. That discussion by itself is powerful, because it's showing people that, look, we're disagreeing with each other, we're passionately disagreeing with each other, but at the end of the discussions, we're still okay with each other. Yes, the loudmouths like CARE, they try to make Muslims. Though, yeah, organizations like CARE really take advantage of these confusions between Muslim and Islam, right? Because um, because it serves their purpose. But actually, if you talk to members of CARE, not the top leaders of CARE, if you talk to people that go there and they don't know that they're being used as a weapon to defend us, because here's what happens: you convince people that Islam and their identity is the same thing, right? And other people say, like, okay, yes, you're right. Criticizing Islam and criticizing Muslims and being against Muslims are not the same thing, right? However, and this is their comeback to me, most Muslims don't see it that way. Most Muslims see Islam as part of their identity. And because they see it as part of their identity, I can't criticize Islam because they're going to see it as a personal attack. But the problem is that then this stupid but genius, actually it's a genius defense mechanism, you're making it work, right? So because an idea can't stand up to scrutiny, you have to convince people that this idea is their identity and then claim that any criticism of the idea is a personal attack on them and it's hate speech to do so. So, and you're backing off and like, okay, well, it is personal attack because they see it that way, so I'm going to back off. But no other idea does that. Like, I can't say I don't believe in global warming and I see that as part of my identity. So if you say global warming is real, that's hate speech because I see that idea as part of my identity. So now you're attacking me personally if you think global warming is real. No, what other form of idea ever has used that defense mechanism? And now we're letting it stand. We have to come to Muslims. We have to tell them. We have to convince them that this is not your identity. Even if you see it as your identity, you have to understand that when I'm criticizing Islam, because I don't see it as your identity, you have to understand that I'm not personally attacking you. The intention matters. My intention is not to personally attack you. And by giving me a chance to criticize you, you're stealing the platform away from people that have a problem with you personally. Because guess what? As an ex-Muslim, the people that have a problem with you personally don't give a shit what you believe in. They have a problem with me personally as well, right? So we're on that boat together. So let's talk together peacefully and disagree with each other passionately but peacefully, and bring the attention away from give the anti-Islam platform to us, dear Muslims, and steal it away from those people that have a problem with you and not your ideas. Let me see what they have here. The loudmouths like here. Anyways, by the way, this is what I'm going to be doing more often. Going to do more live chats. If you guys could suggest more topics for later, that would be great. So yes, so here's a comment. If modern Muslims suppress criticism, it will leave a void to be filled by people with bad intentions. Exactly. That's my point. Good way of wording it. Sorry if I missed some comments. I need an assistant for me to go through these comments while I respond to them. But another point, I think people that say Christianity is just as bad as Islam, and that's way oversimplifying things, because how could two of anything be exactly the same? How could two of any ideas? We're talking about two major world ideologies, right? And how they affect society and how they benefit or harm us are based on so many different external factors, and based on history, and based on the country. And given, how could two things so complicated be equal in anything, right? So to say they're exactly the same, to say that they're just as bad, That's way oversimplifying things. You have to be more specific. You have to talk about what part of history we're talking about, where we're talking about, what do we mean by harm, what do we mean by benefit, harm to benefit to who, right? Well, Islam was pretty good to the Khalifas at that time. Was it good to women? Was it good to Jews? Maybe at that as a specific time and a specific place, living under Islamic regime for Jews was better than living under a Christian regime. Maybe now it's different. These are complicated stuff, and just and we need to get into the details of these things, and we need to be able to honestly talk about the details of these concepts. But like, it gets very, very detailed, but when people come out and before we even get into the try to make it these two big giant monsters that are so complicated to make it seem like they're exactly the same, I mean, I can't think of more of an oversimplification of two different concepts. A big part of dealing with Muslims has everything to do with where they live. But again, the same thing can be said about Christians. Yes, like even when it comes to Christianity, you have to know that Christianity in Mexico is different than Christianity in Philippines, than Christianity in the United States, than Christianity in Africa. In Africa, there's still the burning witches by the name of in the name of Christianity, right? So if Christianity is so different from place to place, Christianity is not the same, different sects of Christianity and even the same sect of Christianity in different places is not the same thing. So if Christianity is so different, how could anybody make the claim that Islam and Christianity are the same thing, or are exactly as harmful? Another thing to make it clear is like, where is it? Give me one example of in today's world with a country that lives under Christian theology, right? Like a theocracy. Sorry. But then I can't think of one, right? But now name me one country, well, many countries that live under, actually, okay, Vatican, fine, sure, Vatican, small. Uh, if okay, that's cheating though. That's Vatican is not even as like smaller than a city. Okay, fine, Vatican, but how many people are being executed in Vatican and in the name of Christianity? But now name me one, name me countries that are living under Islamic theocracy, right? There's plenty of examples there. So to say right now Islam is not does not have a more dominant force on people's lives and the way people live and oppressing women and oppressing gay people, that's just that is just denying the obvious. But the problem is that people think when you say that, you're denying the harms of Christianity. No, you're not. If you say X is worse than Y, it doesn't mean Y is not bad. It's possible for something to be more harmful than something else while both of them being harmful. I mean, that's such a simple concept, and I don't understand why people think that you're defending something just because you're saying something else is more harmful. Um, what else? Wait, why this guy is ignoring my comment? I'm not ignoring comment. There's many comments here. Let me see which. I read your Vatican comment. Once, let me see. Muslims do believe Jesus is a prophet. Yeah, I know. Christian missionaries, what have they done to Africa? Yeah, okay, yeah. Nobody is denying that Christianity has not harmed the world. Okay, nobody here at least, right? We are all atheists, right? Christianity and throughout history, right? throughout history, Christianity has killed, tortured, took over lands of people they belong to. It was used for slavery. It was used for, the witch hunts. The people, so many innocent women that were using potions and natural stuff to help other people. They were burned. They were hanged. They were tortured, confessed for the witchcraft. A lot of these people, Christianity does cause a lot of harm. But when we say, for example, right now, that the problem of homophobia in Islam and oppression of gay people in Islamic countries is something worse right now than in Christianity. If you say that, is that denying? Are you at the same time denying the fact that Christianity has caused a lot of harm to people throughout history and even now? Are we denying the fact that, you know many Christians in the United States, many Catholics deny the rights to gay people? Are we denying that by saying that, by pointing out to the fact that people in Iran have been hanged for being gay, people in Saudi Arabia, if they discovered to be gay, like so many people have been executed for being gay? If we point these out, if we point out that gay people have it much worse in Islamic countries than in Christian countries, is saying that denying the fact that we still have a long way to go in Christian countries? Well, people say like Christianity was reformed, so Muslims need to do the same. Christianity was never reformed. Christianity is being ignored, right? Christianity, if we look at the Reformation of Christianity, it didn't really improve Christianity, like if as an ideology. Um, what changed most countries with Christian religion was not the Lutheran Reformation, was the fact um, it was the Industrial Revolution. It was the Age of Enlightenment in Europe, and these things forced Christianity to try to adapt in the New World, because New World people were making more money. People were more involved with other philosophies that were being discovered from ancient times, better ways of thinking, more advanced way of thinking. Because of the Industrial Revolution, more people were more concerned about worldly affairs, and that it wasn't Lutherans Reformation that caused all that. It was it was these advances in science that made Christianity had to compete with these things and try to. And this was not a I wouldn't call it a reform of Christianity. It was basically more people ignoring Christianity. And a lot of people, like if you look at what Luther did, Luther, I mean, he didn't try to make people, uh, leave Christianity or become more moderate. He wanted to make people focus more on the Bible, not less on the Bible. He was anti-Jew. Lutherans movement actually made people more anti-women compared to the Catholics. That wasn't, the only thing that the Lutheran Reformation brought was the fact that dissent and protesting against the authorities was now a common thing. Like that was now the new thing to do, and that was the only thing good that it offered. But beyond that, it was the Industrial Revolution and also the Age of Enlightenment in Europe, the Renaissance, that made people focus more on other things, and that was what made Christianity try to adapt and try to make appeal to people. But so if you want to remodel that, you can't go and change Islam. That's not gonna fly. You can't convince people to jump from one form of delusion to another form of delusion. You have to you get people to ignore Islam, to abandon Islam, not to reform Islam. Christianity being subbed for a long time, but what's this channel really about? I mentioned Christianity does not have a dogma surrounding apostates. See, the thing is that, hey, nice to meet you, sir. This is the first time. Well, thank you for joining us. Christianity is the middle child of the Abrahamic religion. Judaism grew up, moved on for the most part. Yeah. Yeah, well, okay. See, the thing is that if you want to go talk to Muslims, right? So we have Christians and we have Muslims, right? And yes, they have the same roots. They have the same origins. They both came from Judaism, and they both share some similarities, and they have different problems, right? But even if they were both uh, just as harmful, which they're not, but even if they were, when you go talk to Christians, you have to understand their ideas and their theology if you want to be able to relate to them. And if you want to go talk to Muslims and reach out to them, you also have to understand what they believe, right? If you want to be taken seriously. So understanding Islam and its differences and its nuances is important if you want to be able to reach out. It's an important part of any activism or any form of movement that involves changing people's opinion, is for you to understand their opinions. You can't just simplify their ideas and say like, oh, they're all believing this, or this is bullshit. You have to understand their arguments. You have to understand where they're coming from. You have to understand the best defenses they have for their positions. Yeah. See, and people come up with examples of why Islam, Islam is worse right now, because like Islam has tells you that if you leave Islam, you need to be killed, and some people are pointing out to Sam Harris's quote, I think, about honor killing. If a daughter leaves the religion, that's what they do. And then people from the other side try to bring examples why Christianity is just as bad, and they point out to bombing of abortion clinics, or Christian moms that kill their children because they hear the voices. And these examples, the problem is that bringing up examples is missing up the bigger picture, right? Because anecdotes don't do well when it comes to supporting any form of idea. You need to look at statistics. You need to look at the bigger picture, right? However, stories and anecdotes are useful to bring an emotional element to what the statistics mean, and to be able to people to understand how dire, because we are, at the end of the day, statistics is not going to get people to take actions, because it's not numbers are not very emotional, and stories are a very useful way to get people to act and get people emotionally involved with something. But to understand, to be able to compare the harm of two different ideologies, you need to look at a bigger picture instead of anecdotal evidence and stories. You need to look at statistics. You need to look at, pew research that shows a lot of how many Muslims support the idea that if somebody leaves Islam, they should be killed. And actually, the numbers are pretty scary. A lot of people say, oh, these Republicans in the United States, if they had full power, they would have done exactly the same as what theocrats do in Islamic countries. I don't think so. I think the worst, like, think about somebody that we very much disagree with, like Mike Pence, right? Do you think like he's against gay marriage? We know that he supported this electroshocking as a therapy for gay people and stuff. But do you honestly think that if he had full power, he would execute gay people? Does anybody really think that? I mean, I'm not supporting the guy, but do you really think, do you really think that he would execute gay people? This is something that is completely acceptable in Saudi Arabia and Iran. And in Indonesia, they whip them, right? We had videos of that as well. In Iran, there's reports, and these reports are not accurate because it's hard to know, but there's at least 3,000 people have been hanged in Iran for the crime of being gay. Yes, somebody says, yeah, I despise Pence, but no, of course not. No. So see, like somebody like Pence, which is probably one of the people that we could all agree is one of the worst people for ruling the country, right? Or for in the United States, right? The worst of the theocrats I could get, like in Christianity, when it comes to in the United States. Even somebody as bad as that, do you guys really think it's going to be as bad as the mullahs in Iran or the Sunni clerics in Saudi Arabia today? No. So actually that's a pretty good example, I think. Let me see if I can see some of the comments. Yeah, actually, no, I can't speak to that because I have to do some research on that. I don't know. Yeah, so some Pence would not take Pence. So doubting Thomas is saying Pence would not take action against gays. He would only condemn them verbally. But even if he does take action, what is he going to do? He's going to, let's say he had full power, right? He's probably going to say, he's going to remove equal rights for them. He's going to be like, first of all, you can't get married anymore. Second of all, maybe he will agree for electric shock therapy for these people. You know, it's okay to discriminate against them, not serve cakes to them. These are all bad. Again, saying this doesn't saying again, comparing these to execution of gay people doesn't mean that these are okay, right? But we have to be able to say something is worse than something else without sounding like we're defending the option that is less harmful. All right. So I think we got this covered. I'm going to let me know if you think this is a good format to talk. Maybe at some point we'll have some of you guys come and join me as a guest here. So somebody could maybe help me read the comments. So I'm not just being quiet, and maybe also join the channel and while reading the comments, just talk with me. Sometimes we could have different people here, but I'm going to try to do this more often. Get this channel up, get more subscribers, get more discussions going on. Let me know if you have any feedbacks. Leave it in the comment. Yes. Okay. Yes. Do it again. Do it again. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the support. But something was mentioned about the hadith, and I'm gonna go do research on that and come back and see if I have any comments on that. But yes, I'm gonna make this video public, also available, so more people see that we're gonna be doing more live events and hopefully get more people showing up at these live events and even joining the discussions, you know, on audio and video with me. All right, guys, thank you so much. I don't know how to stop this actually. Oh yeah, okay. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.